because I...
Hello and welcome to the 109th episode of Growing Up Geek, the weekly podcast for geek entertainment and nostalgia. My name is Brad, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother Rob.
I need scissors, 61.
There you go.
Well, there it is.
It's the thing I say when I don't want to agree or disagree with someone, is I just go, well, there's a statement. So what does that mean?
You don't know what that means?
61?
I need scissors, 61.
Jeez, I really don't remember.
Metal Gear Solid 2.
Okay.
Towards the end, everything's kind of breaking down. It's a very existential happening in the game where it's like, your game that you're playing is actually a video game.
Right, exactly.
The sergeant you're talking to suddenly just appears, like, he starts to freak out, and he appears just with his, like, skull visible,
Yeah.
and he says that line, which means nothing.
Right.
Except that Hideo Kojima wants to mess with you.
Exactly. So we are recording this week's show, although we are shaking our fists at the internet god Shea Gorith.
Or shall we call him Snow Magoden?
Snow Magoden watches over us right now as we try to record this because there is a blizzard of 2010 happening mere inches outside the window. It's past the 3-foot mark. For those of you who aren't familiar with snow, that's a lot of snow. It's getting to the point where we don't know where to put it, you know? So it's kind of like the yard is hilarious. Like the yard is just up to the, like up to the windows with snow.
I literally just I did get to that point where I shoveled a scoop of snow and just basically plopped it right back down where I shoveled it because I'm like, there's no more places to put this stuff.
I started lobbing some over my neighbor's fence, and I'm just like, what are we gonna do? Like, he's not going anywhere either. But yeah, here we sit, and I wanted to kick things off with a little bit of humor and major props to Cracked.com, which is quickly becoming one of the best humor sites on the internet for my money. So much more than the magazine that we used to see at far more.
That was like a Mad Magazine affiliation.
Right, and it was kind of a lame one. Like, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't speak on it. I didn't really read it much, but,
why don't we call it Everybody Hates Raymond?
Yeah.
It took us all night, but...
That may not have been the way they were, but it felt like it. But the website is really good, and they had this article called 10 Things That Will Not End Well. And I know the internet, is getting sick of top 10 lists, but...
No, the internet's not getting sick of top 10 lists. Publishers are getting sick of having to make them because it's basically a guaranteed way to get on Dig.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But there's something kind of unavoidably cool about a great top 10 list, and this one was really worth it. And number 9, I'm only going to read number 9, but number 9 was, on Things That Will Not End Well, is a close-range bear survival kit from Smith & Wesson.
Wow.
And it basically is just a large gun in a yellow case. I'm just going to read this. I'm sorry. Props to Cracked.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to read this. The product description readily admits that by the time you get your gun out of your rubber ducky-colored lunchbox, the bear is going to be so close that gangland execution is your only option. Just make sure to aim carefully as the bear makes a crunchy pretzel sound with whichever of your extremities it has in its mouth. And then it says, the kit also includes a whistle, some Mylar blankets, and a saw. We have to assume that you amputate your gnawed-off limbs with the saw because you just fought a grizzly bear at close range with a pistol and a whistle, and you use the blanket to stay warm as you wait for help while slowly bleeding to death. Most helpful of all, while you wait, you can read the book that comes with the kit, Bear Attacks of the Century, and think to yourself, man, my bear totally did that to me too.
Wow.
So yeah, I love that, and it really does include that book. Like you're supposed to take inspiration from that. Great bear attacks.
That was a great bear attack, man.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the show. We got some meat this week in the form of a bunch of different stuff. You wanted to talk about something you've been playing for a while, haven't said anything about.
Yes. This week I've been playing Mass Effect 2.
Sure.
The most I could say, just as far as where I am in this game,
right,
I've assembled the first batch of people.
Okay.
And had the first encounter with the main villain race.
Okay.
If you know what that is, then you know where I'm at. Now I'm gonna keep this spoiler free.
Right. You have played Mass Effect 1.
Yeah.
Were you on the side who liked it or the side who didn't? Because that was a fairly divisive game.
I did really like Mass Effect. I actually got the completionist achievement.
Right. And so they're saying that this one's an improvement, sort of like, Assassin's Creed, where they listened to the fans. Did you have complaints that you're seeing improved in this one?
Actually, yes, I did. Now,
Okay.
Here's the interesting thing is there were certain things that I was aware of consciously that they would have to improve to make
Right.
the game more accessible, to make it work. Combat was first and foremost. Everybody was
Right.
like, dude, Gears of War is amazing, and it uses this style of combat that you're kind of hinting at in this game. But in
Right.
Mass Effect 1, it was such a half-baked thing because you were pairing that with an RPG.
Right.
It really didn't come across very well. Now, in Mass Effect 2, they definitely did a lot to refine the gameplay and make it more of an action shooter than an RPG.
And are you approving of that? Because, from my perspective, that could be great, or it could be really dumbed down.
You know, I do approve of this game. There are certain things that I miss, from RPGs, but I realize it's kind of a necessary loss. For example, I've always kind of been mad about the inventory management in games like this. I know for you that's a huge turnoff.
Yeah, the first time you showed me Oblivion, you were like, "Check it out! I can harvest this strangle root."
Yeah,
and I'm just like, I was losing you right there.
Well, yeah,
And anything with the complex inventory. I'll tell you one thing that never appeals to me in a game is you can combine your own crap and make a weapon. Like you could make thousands of possibilities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That
doesn't appeal to me. I want
much.
the thing to be. Yeah, I don't want so much control.
Right. Now, see, the thing is, though, with that no longer being in the game, with inventory management and incremental weapon upgrades and stuff like that being kind of streamlined, the world becomes a little more empty.
Right.
Because like the looting is taken away. There's no point to that. And like I've been playing Fallout 3, and part of the thing is, once you're done shooting everybody in the area, you kind of want to go around, and as much of a waste of time it can be, it's still fun to like open up every little thing and be like, oh, here's some bottle caps, ooh, some strangle root,
Right.
like,
Oh, jeez. Yeah. No,
anything
sure.
like that. There's a certain satisfaction of acquiring all these items, and ask anybody who's gotten to the final, to the level cap in World of Warcraft,
Right.
who keeps going, and like, why do you keep going? You've essentially beaten the game. Well, it's because there's all these items out there that they want to get and they want to combine and they want to have the best armor and the best everything.
Yeah.
So the thing is that's missing from Mass Effect 2.
Right.
But in favor of making the gameplay more accessible. Now, the only thing the enemies you gun down drop is ammo, which is actually a new addition to the game. And a lot of the geeks took note that the technology in this game is such that you're supposed to have infinite ammo.
Right.
So really, these are heat clips that cool your gun down. But aside from that, the credits, the items, everything that you find is basically at a set limit in set places.
Right.
And so there's a finite amount of experience in this game,
Right.
of items in this game.
But what about the story? Like, is the story suffering, because there isn't as much RPG? Or is that... See, to me, it would be the ultimate game, what you're describing. Immediate gratification of the action with a deep story that doesn't leave you feeling dumb.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that's what it is now.
Okay, so...
Because the story doesn't suffer at all. In fact, the action element is still only half this game. The other half, a huge portion of this game, is the dialogue system.
Right, with the lazy eye.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the Xbox or if something was off, but all of my characters seem to have, like, a lazy eye.
Like, just one.
Yeah, like squinting or like looking off or whatever. And for as beautiful as they look, I had to wonder, like, was this an artistic decision? Like, characters look more real if there's some sort of
Slight
twitch
vacancy in there.
Yeah, exactly, some vacancy. I mean, it's ironic because one of the characters is supposed to be essentially perfect.
Right.
And you're like, well, I can clearly see that
your
you
eye
have
is
this
not.
Asymmetry going on.
Yeah, that's funny.
And
I mean, when I saw the screenshots for the first Mass Effect, I thought it was fake.
yeah.
Then it ended up delivering on that, but the frame rate
Oh,
didn't.
yeah.
On the Xbox, I have heard that that's improved too. I assume that's.
This game looks great. This game looks better than Mass Effect 2. They've used so much technology.
It looks better than
to
Mass
make
Effect. It looks
Sorry.
better than Mass Effect 2. You're playing Mass Effect 3.
Sorry. It looks better than Mass Effect.
Right.
And yes, everything is streamlined. I initially in the first game turned on a feature that auto leveled up your party members.
Mm-hmm.
So that I wouldn't go through the time of adjusting their powers. But
Right.
this one is so simplified
Yeah.
that I actually find myself like, you know what, I think I'm going to,
Yeah.
give that extra layer of control where, like, I'm going in and deciding which powers my teammates get and in what order and stuff, because it's not too much of a time sink,
Right, yeah. If I could say something about that for 1 second,
Sure.
I actually think that works. Whenever they give you sort of this unlimited freedom, and then they don't force you to do something, a lot of times I think you end up doing that thing. Like I hate to belabor this, but in Saints Row, it's not a game where you're supposed to like walk around and enjoy things. You're supposed to like run people over. But I find myself like going after relationships in this game just because it's my choice,
Right.
It's like when it's your choice, it's 10 times more powerful.
Yeah, and the other thing about choice is a huge part of this game, and I'm really kind of relaxing my gameplay theory because there's no real light and dark kind of affinity whenever you choose to do good or do bad. It's actually Paragon or Renegade. It's kind of how people perceive you. And
Right.
so I kind of at times I've felt myself really being like, you know what, this guy's a jerk, he deserves this, so I'm gonna do this.
Right.
I feel I need to slap this guy across the face and not be like, well, maybe you shouldn't do that, young mister.
You have the choice.
And yeah, I have a choice, but this system is a lot more free because I feel like the consequences, while still being there,
right.
aren't affecting my character as much. Like
Okay.
it's just, it flows better. And with flow, I want to talk about these active interrupts now that they have.
Okay.
Which are really cool. Essentially, it's like the
Is it the thing that was promised during the first game's dialogue system?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
that you would be able to interrupt somebody mid-sentence or mid-action and stop them from doing something or make something interesting, which would mean like somebody's rambling on and you shoot him,
Right, as a base example, yeah.
or you hug him, depending on your choice. But and the way it basically works is like the quick time events in Resident Evil 4, which is you'll have a person talking, the dialogue will be rolling, and then you'll see, it'll pop up on the screen on either the left or the right side, depending on good or bad. Just push the left trigger or the right trigger,
Right.
and you can let it go.
I'm still waiting for the game that lets us have that awkward moment where we do hug the guy mid-sentence, It's just like,
hey, it
the guy's
might
like,
be in this game, I don't
yeah.
know. Like,
Yeah, because like this is sort of the thing that Tex Murphy made me feel like is like
Yeah.
getting so close to like actually feeling like you're annoying a real person. It's super satisfying. But yeah, they're in the middle of like, Shepard, we gotta get to the planet, and you're just like, you know what? Just hold me,
hug it out. Hug it out.
It's like the Groundhog Day thing with Ned Needlemeyer or whatever. Yeah, it's like,
Right.
can you call off work today? And the guy's just like,
Oh boy.
Wouldn't it be insane if the game could react to that and make the guy like act uncomfortable? I would enjoy that. Sorry.
It would be great. As is right now, that would be a whole different artistic direction. They'd have to write it that way.
Yeah.
And maybe they should, or at least they should have a character written that way who's just cynical and sarcastic, a real kind of Josh Whedon character.
Yeah, or Joss Whedon.
Just have Joss Whedon in. Sorry.
Yeah.
I always slur his name because my brain reaches for Josh.
I want to know what Josh Whedon's doing. Real quick, I wanted to ask you about a criticism I've heard, which is that the game is kind of linear, not in its... I know you were saying that there's a lot of choice, but in sort of what each mission is, someone was saying that a lot of the missions revolve around the same kind of things. Like, go to planet, shoot dudes on planet. Are you finding that to be the case, or is that an unfair criticism?
I haven't really thought about it. It seems
Right.
to me like the missions are pretty even-handed.
Is there enough variety, in other words? I mean, I know it's not an open universe game.
It really, I mean, I think the reason why people are feeling that is because there are definite mission endpoints where you'll get a mission accomplished screen.
Right.
And you'll get a rundown of what you got on that mission and like a journal entry and things like that, which the first one that I recall didn't have, you know? Like, I'm finding I enjoy this, though. I like the idea of like kind of completing a mission. I can say to myself, I will put this game down once I've completed this mission.
Exactly.
You know, not like once I'm done roaming the galaxy.
Right.
And gotten enough platinum mined from this planet.
Yeah, there's good stopping points. Well, we may come back to Mass Effect 2. You've suggested...
Right. There's a lot more I would love to talk about, but this is only a half-hour, 40-minute show.
Well, you've suggested that we might come back to this like on future episodes, just to kind of do a progress report.
Yeah.
And see what you're running into and how you feel about it. And I would love that. I mean, if it's the only barometer we ever have for content on this show is things that we're excited about. And if you continue to enjoy that, I'd say, yeah, bring it up.
Yeah, so I do just want to finish by saying something I thought I started but never got around to completing, which was a complaint I had about the first game that surprisingly they addressed in this game, even though I didn't think was a huge deal.
Yeah.
The postures that people stand in while having conversations have now been varied. People kind of walk back and forth. They'll sit, they'll stand. Shepard at times will lean against something, or it's very fluid, and I feel like it's like watching a conversation a lot more than the first game, which basically only had sit or stand. So props to them for picking up on that. That was my one big complaint, and I'm glad that they actually addressed it.
Yeah, it really sounds like a lot of listening to the fan base, which is really cool. Yeah. Always cool to see that. And I wanted to talk this week real quickly about two things before we get into our sort of super topic. One is I never got to say the Best Picture nominations for the Oscars were announced. That actually happened sort of right before our Lost episode last week, and I didn't get a chance to do it. But I just wanted to quickly say how impressive it is, I think, that District 9 is sort of sweeping. They have nominations for Best Picture, for writing, all kinds of different things. I think directing, even. Did not expect that.
Yeah.
And if you've listened to this show, you know what a big fan I was of that movie. Have you seen that yet?
Not yet.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's because I want to see it in high definition. Like, I'm so excited about this movie. I want it to be the best experience. It's like Avatar. I was like, I will not go see it until I can see it in IMAX and in 3D.
Yeah.
I want to see in HD.
Exactly. Steal your roommate's Blu-ray player. Watch it on that because it is a glorious looking disc. But yeah, and the reason you'll have to watch it is because our Oscar show is always where Rob and I, give our best movies of 2009. We sort of wait all the way until then because we want a chance to catch up on video on things we didn't get to see. And, for those who don't know, look forward to that. I did want to quickly say two more things about the Oscars. One, I thought it was interesting that the animation category this year has three distinct forms of animation all going against each other. You've got the hand-drawn from Princess and the Frog. You've got the stop motion from Coraline and Fantastic Mr. Fox, and you've got the computer graphics of Up. And Pixar always sweeps at these things. This year, I really think some of these other ones have a good chance of upsetting Pixar. Fantastic Mr. Fox, I thought was amazing. As a movie, I think Coraline looked amazing, and I think, the hand-drawn animation thing, you can't beat that. So that'll be interesting. And then lastly, the visual effects category is going to be very interesting as well because you have Avatar, the most expensive movie ever, going up against District 9, which is like a cheap, special effects driven film, and then Star Trek, which is sort of right in the middle, summer blockbuster kind of. I think that'll be interesting to see what happens.
An interesting point between Avatar and District 9 that somebody brought up in a review of theirs that I thought was pretty cool was Avatar spent like millions of dollars hiring professors from these psychology institutes to develop the look of the Na'vi to make them relatable.
Right.
And in the end, they kind of just look like blue human cats. But what's crazy in the guy was like, but in District 9, who would have thought I would have cared about these bug-looking creatures? And
Right.
yet, by the end of the movie, I'm really like enthralled by them and their emotions and everything. It's like,
Yeah.
so that says something about like the way that Avatar may have been a waste of money for all the money it made.
Well, it's interesting. I think of Avatar that it doesn't feel like a big budget movie, which is cool. Like, he didn't take that budget, and what I mean by that is he didn't take that budget and bloat up the story in the way that Transformers 2 did, where it's like, let's add a zillion characters, let's add a zillion side plots. Instead, it's really one simple story that you could tell people in a few minutes, but it cost a lot.
It's like,
you know?
I think some people will say, like, you look around and everything looks expensive.
Right.
But it doesn't mean it's not being put in your face.
Exactly. There's one main character, there's one tribe of people to root for, that kind of thing. And I think that was smart, that he simplified the story but blew up the effects. And District 9, the eyes of those bug creatures, I think, is really where the money is.
Well, we'll come back to all of that.
Yeah, we'll come back to that later. And then real briefly, Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Yeah, was announced. And, how many times can we be hurt and then come back for more? I don't know.
A lot.
A lot. Yeah, I am Sonic's whipping boy, apparently, because I got excited about this. And it is truly the last chance that they have, because this name is perfect. If it were to be the first good Sonic, this name is perfect. Sonic the Hedgehog 4. 1, 2, and 3 were good. You really liked those. You haven't liked the other stuff. Here's 4 officially. It's going to be episodic. It's going to be on Xbox Live and I think other download services. It's HD, sort of looks two-dimensional still, which is, again, speaking my language. We've talked about this before. I really think the 3D thing is difficult to control when Sonic's going fast, and I think that 2D magic may still be the answer.
I can still remember when people heard New Super Mario Brothers. Some people were like, what would be awesome if they just called it Mario 4. But they didn't, and they never will until they run out of ways to make that name longer. All
right. Well, the last time that they had, just Sonic the Hedgehog, I thought, well, that's their chance.
Yeah, it was like this relaunch.
Right. It's a relaunch. It's a reboot. It's their time.
It turned out to be a relaunch right off a cliff.
I was about to say that. If you weren't going to go there, I was, because that's exactly what happened. I pressed the stick and I launched off a cliff. That's no way to treat Sonic, and maybe this will be the answer. I don't know. I mean, again, it's like Molyneux, and I know you were talking about Molyneux this week, but how many times can we be hurt and come back? I don't know. Infinity may be the answer. But it's the same kind of thing where I see this and I go, come on, I'm rooting for Sonic. Some people have pointed out he does seem to be moving slower in the 2010 version than in the originals. I kind of agree. The animation is very smooth and very crisp, and it almost makes him look slower, but
it's like the Street Fighter effect.
Yeah. My excitement has not waned. That is probably to a fault.
I will give it a look.
Yes, let's give it a look. And speaking of looks, a lot of people were looking this week at the 2010 Super Bowl.
Well done.
A word that, not really, a word that we're apparently not sure if we're allowed to say this word. I know you expressed this beforehand, that a lot of people can't say Super Bowl.
Big game. It's the big game.
Yeah. If we get dragged off, mid-podcast, well, you'll know what happened, because that's apparently copyrighted? I don't know. This is an independent podcast. We're not affiliated in any way with companies. Maybe that'll be enough.
Snowmageddon will come in.
Snowmageddon I liked better, if not Shea Gorath.
Shea Gorath. Who is that?
It's in Oblivion. The guy literally says, I saw the face of Shea Gorath in the vomitus.
Well, I know what you're doing with your time.
Exactly. I've never forgotten that. I spent so much time in that game just beating up like a guy camping a million miles away from a civilization where no one would see what happened, and then taking his clothes and then arranging his body. That's my honest Oblivion experience. I'm sorry to say.
You gotta think like the story, like Oblivion 2 should be like a guy called in to like track down this guy, this strange person in the woods who just kills people and rearranges their corpses.
Right, it's
like,
a quest.
Suggestive.
Find the Perviler or whatever his name is. Yeah, the Pergoler. So Super Bowl. Let's get back to that.
Yes,
lots
a soup full of bowl.
Yeah. Lots of trailers, lots of commercials. Last year, this was a big deal. This year, kind of a recession effect where there's not quite as many big, exciting things. But nonetheless, there were some cool things, and we're going to talk about that. First and foremost, the Last Airbender trailer.
Yes.
And I say trailer because this is a little bit thicker in terms of content. What'd you think of this?
I thought it was cool. Now, I gotta say, it's part of a growing trend that I do not like, which is they are unveiling Super Bowl commercials and trailers before the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
and
I noticed
saying,
that.
Hey, come and watch this, which is how I took this in initially. So
See,
it was.
I saw that and I resisted. It's just lame because it probably looks better on my laptop.
Well, but I did see this, and I actually am excited about this movie because I watched the whole first season of The Last Airbender on Netflix. It's available on Instant Stream. I'm waiting for season 2 to come out, but it's such a great show, and to see it made live action and to see things being done faithfully,
yes,
I'm excited for. It's almost like sad because there's not much M. Night in it. You know, you're like, well, he wrote it, directed it, and whatever, but how much did he really like?
Well, I may disagree there. I mean, this trailer, if you haven't seen it, is basically a series of elemental money shots.
Yeah.
You literally see the fire thing. You see fire bending, water bending, earth bending. It's the exact thing that you would want to see, you know?
Yeah.
And that stuff, to me, is M. Night's territory. He handles supernatural elements well. And I think we see that here. And when it finished, Amber just said, well, that looks like the cartoon. And that is the exact...
Yeah.
That's the best compliment you could pay to somebody who's adapting it is this looks like the cartoon. I mean, the spirit in the visuals, the spirit of the cartoon is there.
Yeah, the question is, though, where does this go creatively? Like, why this? And, like, why not just watch the cartoon? Obviously, it condenses it all into 1.5 or 2 hours, but...
Right. And will it be like... obviously, it'll have to deal with some origin stuff. Will it be a greatest hits thing where, you know, obviously we'll probably see the resolution unless they're planning a series, which I don't think
they might be. I mean, well, because the events that I saw in the trailer resemble strictly the events that took place in season 1.
Okay.
You know, which all, like, it's pretty awesome what happens and the resolution of everything. So they might be planning this as a series of movies.
Right.
But that being said, I do like the look of this. I like the look. The water bending in particularly looks cool.
Yeah, I've rewatched that, and that's the shot that really jumps out at me.
Yeah.
I guess they're probably using real water, and that's probably part of it. It's not. Maybe it's not simulation, and maybe it's actual water. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks good.
And I love the fact that Aang is as young a kid as he is.
Yeah, he looks great.
Yeah.
Whoever they picked looks really good in the role, like natural.
And obviously, him going all Avatar mode with his arrow shining and his eyes glowing looks beautiful. Like I think they found a way to take what you see in the cartoon, how your brain interprets that would look in real life, and then making it look that way. Like I think that's what you meant. Like it looks like the cartoon, though it's clearly not.
Right. This is going to be crack for kids. I really think, like, to imagine that a movie with a child hero, and supposedly he's making this because his kids were so into the cartoon, to have something like this that kids can watch, basically a Star Wars. I realize that, you know, Harry Potter is sort of like that, and that leads us probably to our next commercial we could talk about. But yeah, I mean, to have something like that for kids that's so high quality, where you could literally pull... Remember how we used to say, do you want to be Han Solo or do you want to be Luke Skywalker, you know? And either one was an awesome choice. It's the same kind of thing. Do you want to bend water? Do you want to bend fire? And different kids can pick their favorite. I love that.
Yeah, obviously.
I just love that. So why don't we move on to that Harry Potter commercial? They revealed the wizarding world of Harry Potter. Revealed in quotes because it was, you know, sort of like this CG flying around thing. You briefly saw a roller coaster. Daniel Radcliffe appears in the commercial, which I actually, for whatever reason, I just sort of was like, yeah, he's in it too. Like, that's cool that he would say, come follow me, you know.
Spend your money, parents. Come on.
Exactly.
I'm naked in front of a horse.
Jeez, that was a weird turn that it took.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You got to see some of it. Look, I'm not saying I'm super excited about that, but Geeks obviously we're excited to see a little bit more of that. And I mean, the Hogwarts that they show in the commercial is like full size. I still don't know if they're gonna pull that off, but if they did, I'm gonna trek down to see this thing because that's a big scale like fantasy set.
You know what I would do is hire that group of people to recreate Mist Island.
Exactly. I've mentioned that before. I just want somebody to invest in a real Mist Island, although it would be so tiny that it would be in danger of like sinking anytime like a volcano like burped underneath the ocean, you know? That island was unrealistically small.
It would become like the fastest third world country. Like.
Exactly. And I'd be living on it, growing long fingernails and hair, and just being like, "Hey, Triss, where are you?" Yeah. Anyway,
we can tell like how that happened then.
Exactly. But yeah, for me that would be perfect. That's not going to happen. But for fans of Harry Potter, I think this is going to be cool. Cool. But anyway, yeah.
What's on your list here?
Dante's Inferno.
Well, no, I thought clearly Charles Barkley's Taco Bell rap.
Yeah. Okay, if you want to go the bad route, let's each point out something bad. I want to say no. I want to say no to something called Flow TV.
Oh, yeah?
I am tired of seeing this advertised. This pocket-sized TV that guys can carry around. And it was a very guy-centric Super Bowl. Like, Amber even said, geez, like, if you're a woman, just forget about watching this Super Bowl. Because this whole thing was like, every commercial was like, she removed your spine. And then the next one would be like, I deserve this car because I'm a man. And then the next one was something else. And it's like, holy crap.
Click on this website and you may or may not see naked women.
Right. Oh, God. Does anybody fall for that? I just don't understand it.
Really? There's a place I can go on the internet?
Yeah, and the saddest thing is it's probably not GoDaddy because that commercial, I guarantee you, is not anything more risque than that.
Right.
Anyway, Flow TV. We're off topic. Flow TV is this portable TV that you carry around in your pocket. I think this is pointless.
Didn't this come out in the 80s?
Yeah, exactly. You have an iPhone now, or you have a smartphone that can view YouTube. You can view television on your phone. You don't need another dingus to carry around. I mean, this is what I've said before, why convergence actually appeals to me now. Because I don't have a man purse. And I can't be carrying an MP3 player / TV / a phone, like all these things at once. No, I will not buy Flow TV. And I encourage nobody else to buy Flow TV. No.
See, I didn't even know what it was when I saw the commercial.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, it's another Hulu.
It's a portable television. It's like, what are you doing? Like, you could fit all of that stuff plus MP3 plus phone now into one device. You don't need just this TV in your pocket. Weirdness.
All right.
Weirdness. Sorry. Well, what's your big no of the Super Bowl?
Oh, I thought that was it. Charles Barkley's Taco Bell rap.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was awful. I mean, also the one for the droid, which was just like walking the line of copy infringement as best as it could.
Remind me. I don't even remember this.
Well, there's these claws that are going out and grabbing things from like cells, like these boxes in the walls, and dropping them into a hole.
Okay.
And so it's like you see the guy like doing the Numa Numa dance from YouTube.
Oh shoot, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
And it's not actually that guy, you know.
No, I thought it was that guy, but I was questioning whether or not it was that kid, the kid that's doped up after going to the dentist's, the kid that says, "Is this real life?" It's a famous YouTube clip.
Right.
You know, and they had that kid, and I'm like, what is this weirdness? Yeah.
Tay was actually in it.
Yeah.
They managed to get him, but it was sad. There's a certain point at which, you know, you got to admit to yourself, we can't get this guy to appear.
Okay.
So let's pick another one that we can get, or just do something different.
I find it shocking that you think they couldn't get the Numa Numa guy.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's what's shocking to me too. It's like, why couldn't you just go like? I think he's actually like gotten enough legal teams behind him now that any appearance of that, he's gonna be on them.
I'll tell you what I did think was great. My favorite one that was non sort of movie or gaming related was the Kia Sorento that had the sock monkey riding on the bull.
That was a great commercial.
It's just
one of the top ones.
It was just so odd that I just started laughing. I didn't even really know that it was Kia Sorrento. I wrote that down here. I don't remember it, but the one-eyed freak that basically is bowling and shatters a bowling pin. That moment I just thought was kind of awesome. I don't know. It was just like this really weird monster having an awesome time, and all these other freaky monsters, and then you realize, okay, they're just sort of stuffed animals. But yeah, so why don't we talk about the Dante's Inferno? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have something to say about?
No, that was an awesome ad, definitely. Yeah, let's talk about Dante's Inferno, and then I'll tell you what my favorite commercial of the Super Bowl was.
Okay, sounds good. Interesting musical choice for this commercial. It featured Ain't No Sunshine by Bill Withers, and that playing over all this hell footage. Like, I thought very gloriously rendered hell footage, by the way. This is a very good-looking commercial. Even for the detractors, I've heard a lot of people say that this trailer was really pretty exciting. And it ends with sort of a massive pull-out shot of all the freaks and creatures in hell with sort of Dante, if that is the character's name, down there. And it says "Go to hell" or whatever, which is lame. But yeah, the interesting musical choice.
Did it actually say that? Because I heard that they were trying to water it down for the Super Bowl to just be like, "Hell awaits" or something.
It may have said that. It was one or the other. But the last shot was sort of like, this just huge, like, looming black beast creature and all these different things. The scale of this just looks really good. I'd be surprised if a lot of people wouldn't check this game out based on that trailer. But I've mentioned this before. I think hell as a setting, and we talked a little bit about it before with Darksiders, is interesting, and I haven't seen it since Doom, like in a game that I've played. I think this looks cool.
Just confirming here, it did say "Go to hell" at the end.
Okay, there you go.
Right.
What are your thoughts on this trailer and maybe on the game itself?
Well, I thought it was a really cool trailer. It definitely stood out. It surprised me by having the music that it chose, and all these kind of beautifully rendered stuff going on. Now, the fact that they have your woman friend dressed is something like,
yes.
This is maybe a bit of false advertising.
Yeah, exactly.
I find it strange that the public reaction to this game is as positive as it is.
Really?
For as much as it's trampling on this epic poem, and as much as it is like this blatant kind of God of War ripoff with very just like man-centric stuff. Like, I heard NPR literally saying EA is doing something so brilliant, it's amazing it wasn't done before, which is base a video game on Dante's Inferno, where you have 9 levels, and at the end is the ultimate boss.
Right. Now, look, it's interesting you say it's positive now, because early on it was nothing but podcast after podcast saying...
Yeah. From within the game community,
they're adapting this material into a video game. That's so corporate disgustingness, and it seems like it. But at the end of the day, NPR is right. There hasn't been a Dante's Inferno game. It's not zombies, it's not outer space marine, with shaved head. It's hell and all of these crazy things that are in Dante's Inferno. If you've ever read it, all the different layers each have their own twisted punishments and creatures and things. It's ripe for something like that. And I'm not going to say that it's going to be a good game, but I'm not going to be cynical and say, oh, look at it, it's just a cash grab. Maybe it is, but it's a unique one.
I mean, I can at least say I get it now. I understand why like, if you're gonna have a game set in hell,
right,
this is a great form of hell to go on. Like, it's kind of this...
What a great form of hell to go on.
Yeah, I mean, it has a system to it. It has, concepts that are... It's so deeply thought about.
Right, and the actual confrontation with Satan in the lowest circle, like in the frozen lake where people are half frozen, varying degrees of sin. There are people that are, half sticking out, and some people are frozen up to their eyes. all of those things. I would be curious when I'm playing this game to see if how many of those things are going to appear.
I think all of them.
And so I think that would be a nice driving force for me in any game like this. Is I can't wait to see the next twisted layer or circle. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like what's going to happen when we reach malice or when we reach lust or whatever. Obviously, some of those things. I think. Ocean of semen at one point was mentioned, or what was it again? As the semen floor rises,
right? I
some
believe so.
statement like that.
And there's like baby demons that you kill.
Yeah, that is a little bit.
But
dark.
they're not actually babies. They're demons that resemble babies. This is what the actual ESRB statement says as to why this isn't banned.
Oh, right. Well, it's that's so funny. That's so funny, that whole ESRB thing. I still can't figure out if that semen floor rising thing was just on podcasts, but that got around so many times. It must have been.
I think it's real.
It's part of the real thing. Anyway, well, that's my Super Bowl. Super Bowl. What was it? Now, before
I can't
you
wait.
go,
They just need to come out with Paradiso and have it just be like puppies loving each other, and so like to wash yourself. It's a game you play after this game just to cleanse yourself of everything you've just done.
Take a shower. Maybe I don't want.
It's like Farmville in heaven.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything's just. There's no action at all.
Yeah, but real quick before we finish this, you did want to say your favorite Super Bowl commercial.
My favorite Super Bowl ad by far was the Denny's free Grand Slam day.
What was this?
As a matter of fact, it all boils down to a single moment, which is basically this guy announces that Denny's is going to be giving away free Grand Slams on this certain day.
Right.
And all these chickens just start screaming.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's
that
a great
was good.
Scream. It's like, really piercing. In the second commercial, it's just chickens screaming. And there's a shot of a chicken floating in space.
Yes.
And you just see its mouth like open up as it screams, but you don't hear
a silent
anything.
Scream of the space chicken.
Exactly. And that was the top moment of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you see the Dignation where they did the death metal chicken? Or death metal rooster? Gosh, anyone who hasn't seen death metal rooster, you got to go check this YouTube clip out. It's this rooster that screams an unnaturally long amount of time, and then they back him up with the most perfect like hardcore death metal, and it just sounds like a guy screaming in a death metal band. Anyway, we're going to have to wrap this up, but before we close out the show, every week we like to get nostalgic. We're almost out of time, so I just want to real quickly say that I saw a paper iPad this week, and it totally reminded me of when we were kids, that we would hear the news about something coming out, some technology, find the dimensions, and then make it out of paper.
Absolutely.
And you would be famous for this too, and also for like drawing out controller designs and that kind of thing.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I would come up with my own controllers and also cut those out of cardboard and...
Yeah, I remember I would hold these fictitious controllers. You were big on creating controllers that didn't exist, arcade cabinets. I remember you had your own like whole arcade faceplate worked out for the button system and everything.
Yeah. Remember we were working on this concept for a fighting game. What did we call that?
Jeez, I can't even remember.
And obviously the big thing with fighting games is the button layout. You had the 6 buttons in Street Fighter, and you had the 5 buttons in Mortal Kombat. So we were like, well, we have to figure out a unique button layout, and just to make the game stand out.
Yeah, I think we may have gone overboard.
What did we have? Okay, we had high, middle, and low.
Right.
And I think that they were also like hard, and then there was like
medium.
Hard, medium, or whatever. So we might have had like 9 buttons, and I thought that we had like one unique button,
like a special move button or something.
Right, but I forget what it was. It was like because
like
there was block, there was run. Yeah, we had the overkill or something. That was our name for the fatalities, and we were going to have them be full motion video.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is so inspired by just GamePro magazine, endless reading of Mortal Kombat strategy guides and Street Fighter stuff. Mid-90s.
What did we call that game?
I have no idea. I feel like it was
bug me now.
It was something like Wild Fury. It was something like Primal Rage but just adapted, I think.
Oh Gosh, I want to say it was like Raw Instinct.
Raw Instinct. That is exactly what it was. That was exactly what it was. Yeah, and somewhere there's like design documents for this in my basement, like buried under who knows what, with pictures of guys like in various poses. I remember I was actually drawing out like each animation, like here's the crouching, here's the upwards kick. That was fun, even if it never came.
You had a guy who shot a hoop that you would have to jump through.
Oh yeah, that's right. The only way to get around, geez, now this game is difficult. The only way to get around that super move was to dive through this particular hoop. Man, that just shows you how much time we had, but it was also fun. It never came to fruition, obviously. But in the meantime, it was fun to dream that stuff up, and I think, that's a reflection of our excitement for that, and the paper PlayStation 2 that we made, the paper controllers. It's something that you can't wait to hold. You can't wait to have it, and so you start clearing the appropriate amount of space on your cabinet.
I'm glad to see it's still going on. Paper crafting lives.
Get your paper iPads today. So that's going to do it for this week. If you are like us and you would like to send us some comments about your experiences growing up geek, you may do so. Our email address is mail@growing-up-geek.com. According to our statistics, there are about 1,000 of you out there each week listening. And I want to do a little experiment. If you are listening to this and you are real, if you are not a porn bot, please head over to iTunes, leave us a review. I'm not going to tell you how many stars to leave, but it's up to you. And that would help us out greatly. We're getting more exposure on there, and I just want to keep on ratcheting it up. That would be awesome if you could do that, and sort of let us know, who you are and whether or not you enjoy what we're doing. As always, you can follow Rob and us throughout the week on Twitter at twitter.com/GUGBrad and GUGRob. And that is going to do it. Once again, my name is Brad.
My name is Rob.
And we will catch you next week. Snowmageddon.
Gordon Snowman.
That's
Christmas Snowmaquist.
Yes.